was in Washington this past week, I had the honor of helping the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children present their annual Hope Awards. They're given out every year during Missing Children's Month. Among this year's honorees, former Secretary of State Colin Powell. He and his wife Alma have done extraordinary work in preventing international child abductions.
Very pleased to be with you.
The next morning, I was on Capitol Hill to help the National Center recognize some great cops who work to make the country safer for kids. It was especially great to be back on the Hill because I wanted to thank the lawmakers for finally passing the Children's Safety Act. It'll create a national sex offender registry to help us track predators across the country. Lowlifes who right now find it too easy to slip through the cracks in the system. I got to meet with some of the lawmakers who work so hard to get it passed.
It's an honor to be able to participate in a partnership with you, but more importantly, people throughout this country who we know can change people's lives.
This is one of those cases where I think there's an overwhelming consensus. There's an overwhelming consensus.
Well, it's been a very special couple of weeks here in Washington. A lot of good has been done. And I just want to thank all of you who wrote to your U.S. congresspersons and senators to show your support for the Children's Safety Act. You really, really helped. Now, we look forward to President Bush signing this much-needed legislation. Then the guys I hate the most, the sexual predators who go after our women and children, can be effectively monitored and punished. Right now, we're going after one of the worst, Warren Jeffs. We told you about this alleged pedophile and avowed polygamist on our last program. Here's the latest on the most hunted man in America.
Many young men, when they receive their first wife, are just so untrained.
Authorities say Warren Jeffs' followers number as many as 10,000.
The woman, if she is not careful, will become overbearing and will always ask permission for what she wants.
And ladies, build up your husband by being submissive.
Is she ready, Howard?
Yes, Prophet.
Adults and children believe his every word and follow his every command, surrendering their money, their free will, and their daughters to him.
He comes into your home, he looks at your 14-year-old daughter, decides that it's time for her to marry.
God knows what he's doing.
He walks out of that house with that girl because God chooses it. And the parents say, God must know what he's doing, and they hand her over.
Jeffs, the head of the Fundamentalist Church of Latter-day Saints, controlled the small town of Colorado City on the Utah-Arizona border. He demanded that his followers do everything in their power to build up his already sizable wealth.
These young women who are married to these men, while they're married and they act as husband and wife, they march into the welfare office and sign up as unwed mothers, and they want assistance for their 8 children. They refer to it as bleeding the beast. They hate the government. They don't recognize the government. Hey, but we'll be glad to take the government's cash.
But authorities say wealth wasn't the only thing Jeffs was after.
Well, when I was around 5 to 6 years old, our family would attend an early Sunday church meeting. Warren would grab me by my hand. He would take me down the hallway and lead me into the bathroom. He would sexually sodomize me. He told me that I had to do this. This was a part of me becoming a man. This is God's will. If you do not do this, you will burn in hell.
He's more powerful than a mafia boss. Think about it. These mafia dons kept people in control and subjugation by threatening physical harm or death. He's a predator. He's a pedophile. He's all these things, and we need to catch him.
In 2005, Jeffs fled Colorado City when multiple counts of sexual conduct with a minor were levied against him. And as we first announced on America's Most Wanted, the FBI just added Warren Jeffs to their 10 Most Wanted list. Now the state of Utah is building a case that Jeffs is involved in racketeering.
We that when Warren Jeffs is arrested, that we'll be able to bring multiple financial crimes against him, including things like tax fraud, tax evasion, welfare fraud, and other legal activities involving monies.
Minutes after we told you about Warren Jeffs, our hotline lit up with calls from hundreds of tipsters, eager to share what they knew about him. And since our broadcast, the FBI has been culling through your tips. While we return to Colorado City, Arizona, to join in the search for Jeffs with lead investigator Gary Engels. Since our story aired, he says the feeling here is noticeably different.
I think there's probably more tenseness in the community. I've had some of the people telling me that they don't like the publicity that's being generated through all this, especially Warren's people.
Patrolling through this secretive community, Engels senses a growing hostility and fears there could be retribution ordered by Jeffs.
He has complete control over these people, and that they will do whatever he tells them to do. So should he decide to come around and say, okay, these people who are causing us all the trouble need to be killed, there are people here that will do that.
Others still inside Colorado City live in fear.
I have sources inside that community, and I know that it terrified them to know that their leader was on America's Most Wanted.
But for now, Warren Jeffs remains on the run. While the FLDS recently constructed this massive compound in El Dorado, Texas, authorities believe Jeffs could be anywhere tonight. He always travels in a convoy and is surrounded by bodyguards. Jeffs uses lookalikes for decoys, takes refuge in safe houses all across the United States, Mexico, and Canada. And tonight, America's Most Wanted is widening the dragnet to include yet another evil prophet of the FLDS. His name, Orson William Black. This guy tells his followers that he's the Archangel Michael, and Black is known to marry girls as young as 12 years old.
He took my baby sisters, raped them, impregnated them, and brainwashed them. And now they are lost.
U.S. Marshals believe that Black took his followers into Mexico and set up a commune there. But there's a chance of catching him in the U.S. because he and his followers crossed the border to get food and supplies. Cops say that Black, like Jeffs, is pure evil.
He will befriend the mothers, and he basically rapes the children and marries them.
Both Warren Jeffs and Orson William Black, diabolical leaders who manipulate their followers under the guise of religion, must be stopped now. If you know anything about where authorities might find Warren Jeffs or Orson William Black, call our hotline tonight at 1-800-CRIME-TV.
Next.
Let me tell you about the case that inspired me to become a New York City police officer.
You'll meet a cop who wound up on the wrong side of a gun and join her hunt for the men who changed her life forever.